Do you ever feel like you're not good enough as an adoptive parent? Maybe you feel like a failure. Or perhaps in extreme cases, you don't even feel worthy to be an adoptive parent. I understand, because I've been there. For those times when I didn't feel good enough, or I felt like a failure, or even when I didn't feel like I was worthy to be an adoptive parent, I knew it was time to put a principle into play. A principle I would like to share with you today to encourage you in your adoption journey. Hope and healing are on the way. Hi neighbor, welcome to another walking episode of Anchors of Encouragement. My name is Tim Maudlin, husband, adoptive parent, disciple of Christ, and ambassador of encouragement. I'm coming to you today from my outdoor studio. Just prior to hitting the record button on my phone, I was walking in my yard to collect my thoughts so I could share this principle with you. Because there have been times when I didn't feel good enough as an adoptive parent. I felt like a failure. And sometimes I even didn't feel like I was worthy to be an adoptive parent. I knew it was time to put a principle into play. I'll share that principle with you in a moment. Before that, there's a quick story I would like to tell you. This story will serve as a metaphor for the principle. Have you ever seen a house plant that's been neglected? What does it look like? They're typically drooping. The leaves are curling. But what happens to that plant when you add a little water to it? Immediately, it starts to stand up. It's amazing just what a little water will do to a plant that's been neglected. And that's the metaphor I want you to keep in mind as I share this principle with you. It comes from an encouraging Bible verse I find in the book of Proverbs, chapter 11 and verse 25. I want to read that verse to you from a couple of different translations. First of all, from the Legacy Standard Bible. This is Proverbs 11:25. The soul that blesses will be enriched, and he who waters will himself be watered. And then from the New Living Translation, the same verse. The generous will prosper. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. The interesting point that I want you to get from this verse is that we have described by Solomon a principle that you can put into play anytime you need encouragement. I have put this principle into play for myself. And here's what it typically looks like. Whenever I am discouraged, and in the case of an adoptive parent, I don't feel like I'm good enough, or I'm a failure, or I'm not worthy to be an adoptive parent, I take the focus off of myself and I think about someone who I can bless, someone who I can refresh, and someone who I can water. I try to think about someone who is discouraged. And when I say something or do something to that person and for that person, it's amazing to watch the shoulders that are drooping start to stand up a little taller. A frown goes to a smile. When I put that principle into play, I'm not sure, and I don't know when it's going to come back to me, but it comes back to me, and a lot of times in the most unexpected ways. Someone says something or someone does something that will bless, refresh, or water me. It happens without fail. It's one of the reasons for this podcast, because I know if I share content with you to bless you, to refresh you, to water you, that it will come back to me. And it has. Time and time again, there have been comments to me, or there have been things that have been done in unexpected ways that have blessed, refreshed, and watered me. And that's what I want for you. So let's get to your daily doable. The great thing about this principle is that you do not have to wait for someone to encourage you when you're discouraged. When you find yourself discouraged, put this principle into play. Now, how do you do it? I want to encourage you to get in a quiet place, maybe go for a walk like I did today, and think about someone you can bless, refresh, or water. Think about what you could do or say to that person, and then do it. This principle will come back to you, and it will come back to you in the most unexpected and amazing ways. So whenever you don't feel good enough as an adoptive parent, maybe you feel like you're a failure, or maybe you don't feel like you're worthy to be an adoptive parent, please put this principle into play. It works. It works every time. That's all for this episode. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, this is Tim, encouraging you to do what you can now.